Yo, what it do again? Welcome back to the channel. So listen guys, I heard you got a sweet tooth or something, bro, and you wanted to see me bake these fools on ladder with madolches. That's what I heard, bro. I don't know who told me, you don't know who told me, but that's what I heard, right? So with that being said, yeah, this is a 42 card deck list, and I'm gonna go over about the whole synergy because this thing makes this deck way better. This thing makes this deck better. Better. These right here make the deck better as well because this trigger you're sending madolches back into the deck to trigger your spells and stuff like that. This deck has very good synergy. Also, it's good against the current meta because you have shufflers in here. Also, this deck can make a best dweller because of all the level 4s that you have. So with that being said, I'm gonna go over about the whole synergy and everything at the end of the video towards the deck list. For right now, I have about 3 to 4 saucy replays for you guys. It might be a little longer video than usual because I want to show you all the replays. So with that being said, if you guys enjoy the content, please leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Enough talking, let's get into the replay. Right guys, so for the first replay, I'm going to show you a replay where we went up against Tearlaments. And listen bro, because I don't want nobody calling me a hypocrite, because I tried really hard not to be one. I use Max C, but I only drew 2 cards, and I've told you before that if I use Max C, I'm only going to show you a replay if I draw 2 cards, which is the only cards I needed to draw. So still, I just wanted to show it to you because it's a really good game. So either or, let's get into it, right? So I got the Keldo right here, so we're going to activate the Keldo so we can send the Pudding Sets to the graveyard. That way we could get a Madora to the hand. We're going to normal summon the Angeli. Angeli's going to activate her effect, so we're going to get a Predator Sword to the hand. I mean to the field. We're going to activate this effect. And I'm gonna get the Madolche hook kick, and here this was not the greatest of times to do this because now I gotta banish one of my Madolche cards, but it's fine, bro. Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. So that way we special summon the Messengerado. That way we could get our Messengerado Salon to the field. Then we're gonna use both of these monsters, so that way we could exceed summon into the teacher. The teacher's going to activate her effects and a card to the graveyard. Then we're going to activate her second effect so we can send this back into the deck, which is going to trigger our Salon, which is going to get us a trap. We're going to set down our cross designator and end our turn. We still have the Maxi. We have this. And if you're wondering why I didn't go into Abyss Dweller, it's because once you activate, where is she in here? Once you activate this thing's effect, you're locked into only activating Madolche's effect. So it's like I can't. Oh, also special summoning Madolche monsters, so I couldn't even do it if I wanted to, right? So here they set down their primal planet, activating that thing. I'm gonna negate it right away because that thing is right now is gonna search them a tier limit card, and I don't necessarily want to deal with that. So we get the Messengerado back to the hand so we can negate that thing. That's gonna trigger our Salon, so we're gonna put another trap onto the field, which is not activated right now, but it's fine. They get the Reinhardt onto the field, and this is where I use the Max C. I hate this card, but it is what it is, right? So they're gonna send a Sharon to the graveyard. They're gonna use his effect, using both of these monsters to fusion summon into the Kid Kalos, of course. Here we join to the Ghost Bird. They're gonna activate this thing's effect to try and pop this card right here. Also activating the Kid Kalos. I'm gonna activate this thing's effect so I can make this thing untargetable, because I might want to keep this on the field if they can attack over it. That was the plan at the time. They get a Havness to their hand. Again, this thing is going to try and pop, but it's negated because of our trap. So I'm going to use this thing's effect, bringing the other trap back into our deck because I only run 2, and just in case we need it for next turn, right? So then they pop the Hoopty right here, the Hoop Cake. That thing is just going to come back into the deck when you pop it, so we're fine with that. They're going to activate the Kalos effect, bringing the Havness onto the field, so that way they could activate this thing's effect. I drew into a Ash Blossom, luckily, and we managed to actually stop them from milling 5. So get that out of here, right? And that's all they wrote. So here we get a Vernusylph Flourishing Heal. So we're going to activate that thing's effect, sending the Messengerado to the graveyard. They're going to activate the Tearlaments Cry Me, and I will cry you, bro, because I wanted to resolve this play, but whatever. So then we're going to activate this thing's effect, and they're going to activate the Select to try and stop me. And I'm like, yeah, no. My Dolches Predators Permanate. Negate that thing by sending the other this thing back to the hand, right? So that thing's get stopped, get it out of here. And then this thing, we send it back into their deck with the effect. This thing is a shuffler, by the way. And she's a shuffler, bro. She be shuffling. So yeah, that thing sends both of those cards back into the deck. That's gonna trigger this thing's effect. They're gonna trigger that thing's effect, which is gonna pop this card right here. At this point, I can't really do anything about it. We're fine with it. We're still gonna set down our trap, right? And we're gonna activate this thing's effect, which lets us, we just normal summon twice. This thing allows you to normal summon twice, bro. So we're gonna use our Perengrosor and our Keldo, so that way we could use both of them to exceed summon into the Abyss Dweller. Bring that boy out here. We're gonna go into the battle phase, pop this thing in the face, one time for the one time, pop it for the 1,700. And then we're gonna end our turn. We could have went into Zeus, but honestly, wiping my own field isn't really all that great, because at this point we kind of have the advantage. And then also I want the graveyard shut down at all times as possible. Is that the cop? Alright guys, so the boys are outside looking for me because I'm committing crimes. You know, out here busting. Alright, never mind. They always pass by when I'm recording, but let's get it. So then we're gonna again, yeah, we slapped them up. We could have went into Zeus. Decided not to do that because I'd rather have the graveyard shut down. They're gonna set down these cards right here. We're gonna draw into our Infinite Impermanence. We're gonna activate our Keldo, and this is what I'm talking about. By bringing these things back into the deck, that's gonna trigger your spell. They're gonna Infinite Impermanence to negate this, so they can negate that. But then I have the cross out designator, so we're gonna cross that thing out. Luckily for us, we do have 2 Infinite Impermanence because the other one's right in my hand, right? So we banish that thing to negate that. Now we get to sit down our Maldolche ticket. We're gonna flip that thing. It's not really gonna do anything right now. We don't have any other plays. So I try to slap whatever this was. Unfortunately, it was a Madara. They're gonna activate that thing's effect, sending their cards back into their deck, which is gonna trigger this thing. I didn't think about it at the time. I should have shut down the graveyard. I should have shut down everything. But either or, I think I could have stopped it too with this thing. But I wasn't thinking about the fact that this thing was gonna get triggered at the time. So unfortunately, our Abyss Dweller gets popped, bro. Sad times. Sad times. So then from there, they're gonna special summon the Divine of Hero, and I'm like, hell no, bro. Nah, get that out of here. They're trying to send a Miller to the graveyard, and I'm not with that business, bro. That's not what I'm into. Get that out of here. Negate that. They can't really do much right now. We got him on the lock. We draw into a Maldolche Hook Cake. We got the Salon. We're gonna normal summon that thing, activate that thing's effect, banishing the Maxi so we could special summon a Perengrosor. Perengrosor is gonna bring an Angeli onto the field. She's gonna get into the graveyard so we could bring in Messengelado. Messengelado is gonna come out here getting us a Chateau, which is our field spell, which gives us a boost. Then we're gonna use both of these monsters to go into the Queen Tiramisu, which she's gonna activate her effect, sending 2 of our cards back into our deck, so that way we can send 2 of their cards back into their deck. So I'm going for this thing and this thing because I don't care about this thing right now. It's only 500 attack, right? Bringing things back in, that's gonna trigger this thing, trigger your other spell. So this thing right here is gonna allow you to set down another trap or whatever. So here's a second trap. This thing is gonna let you special summon another Maldolche monster. We were about to commit the illiest crime, bro. We were really about to destroy Ass Cream right here. We was really about to do some stuff. It was about to be magical, but again, nobody ever lets me slap them in the face, so that's why we stopped right here. It was a long duel, but I wanted to show it to you guys because it showcases a lot of the synergy between this deck. So with that being said, let's go into the next replay. I'll let you see the victory pose real quick. Let's get out here. I'm gonna show you a replay, but we went against Sprite Runic, and we lost because of the timer, bro. But I'm gonna explain. You could clearly see that we won before the timer ran out. I'm gonna show you how it happened and everything. But even though we lost, I'm gonna show you replays based on the gameplay. I'm showing you replays so you could learn something and enjoy the replay. I don't really care if I lose or don't. If it's a good replay, I'm gonna show it to you, bro. So with that being said, we're gonna activate our hold on, I'm not used to these things. Our Messenlymph of the Missing Seeding, so that way we send it and another Maldolche card to the graveyard so we could get this thing right here, right? So that thing's effect is gonna let us special summon our Perengrosor. Perengrosor is gonna bring the pudding sets onto the field. I'm gonna activate this thing's effect right here, the Flores, so that way we could send a card to the graveyard and get another card to the hand. I cut this thing out of the deck. I'll explain it in the deck list, but yeah, we bring this thing to the hand, right? We're gonna use both of these monsters to exceed summon into the Maldolche Teacher Glassful, right? We're gonna activate her effect, getting rid of a material so I could target myself. Then with this, we're gonna exceed summon into the Maldolche Pudding Set Chocolata. we're gonna activate her effect, sending a Maldolche card back into the deck so it triggers her own effect to get rid of a material to special summon a Maldolche monster. So we get a Hoop Cake. Hoop Cake is gonna banish the Vernusylph monster, so we could bring a Gelato onto the field, which is gonna get us a trap, right? So now that we have that, or the field spell, whichever one we just searched, we activate the jelly, bring another Gelato onto the field, so that way we get to our salon. We're gonna set down the salon. We're gonna set down our Maldolche Chateau, which is gonna send all of our Maldolche cards back into the deck, even our Xyz monsters, and then it's gonna trigger this thing's effect because we have a pudding set inside her, right? Which is also gonna trigger the salon. Here we go. Get rid of a material. We get to special summon another Maldolche monster. Bring it out here. This thing is gonna set down a Maldolche ticket, right? We're gonna activate that thing's effect because we're gonna use both of these monsters right here to link summon into the Maldolche Fresh Start. This deck is hilarious. Then we're gonna use both of these monsters to Xyz summon into the Teacher Glass Full. And we're gonna set down our trap. Again, if you're wondering, dude, why didn't you make a Abyss Dweller? Again, once you activate this thing's effect, there's no more anything besides Maldolche cards. So, but right now we have a good board. This is a tremendous board, honestly. We're gonna activate this thing's effect, making this thing untargetable or unaffected by any other monster effect. They're gonna normal summon the Apira, special summoning the Sprite Blue. I'm gonna negate that thing with the Ash, get that out of here because I didn't want them to search for the Jet. At this point, I'm like, you probably don't have a Jet. I don't want you searching for it. They're gonna activate the Sprite Starter. I'm gonna use the Maldolche Pyramid, sending the Pudding Chocolata back into the extra deck so we could banish this thing right here. Negate that. Get it out of here. So then that's going to trigger this thing's effect. So we're going to bring this thing back into the deck. Also this thing right here, which is going to trigger both of these right here. So this is going to allow us to set down another trap just for next turn or whatever not, right? Then this thing is going to let us special summon another Maldolche monster. So we get our Angeli onto the field. Then they're going to use both of these monsters to Xyz summon to the Gigantic Sprite. Gigantic Sprite is going to activate the effect, bringing a Caspel onto the field. They're going to use both of these monsters to link summon into the Gigantic Sprite. And yo, after a certain point in time, when you watch certain replays and games and stuff like that, you start realizing things. At this point, I promise you, bro, I knew they was playing Runic. I knew that 100% they was playing Runic. They bring out the carrot, activate this thing, bring the Gigantic Sprite back onto the field, right? And here it is, Runic Fountain. Activate that thing, activating Runic Flash Fire. They target this thing to destroy it and banish cards. But this thing, when it's about to get destroyed, you could just get rid of or send one of your Maldolche cards back into the deck and she won't get destroyed, right? So that's what we do. We bring this thing back into the deck. She can't get destroyed. They can't banish monsters. They activate the Runic Slumber, again targeting that thing, banishing 4 of our cards. They're going to activate the Runic Fountain so they can bring these 2 back, draw 2 cards, and here's the Jet. They're going to activate the Jet, get another Sprite Starter. They're going to set the 2 back row, and they're going to link off into IP Masquerena. Again, this is the main phase 2. There's no attacking anything, so which I found funny. I don't know if I did this, bro. This is hilarious, but their board looks exactly like my board besides this. I thought it was funny. So here we draw into another Pettingrissaur. I put this thing in attack position, and then I'm gonna use their IP Masquerena and 4 of our monsters, or 3 of our monsters, to go into the Underworld Goddess. And my plan here is basic, bro. I use this IP Masquerena going to the graveyard. You can't bring her back because I'm gonna negate that. So that's exactly what they do. They activate that thing's effect to try and bring her back onto the field. And I'm like, no, you're not. Leave that thing down there. She's chilling. Leave her down there. So that thing gets negated. Get it out of here. And now our Maldolche Salon triggers because we get to normal summon twice. They're going to activate the Smashers, and I got the Pyramid in the back pocket ready, sending the Teacher back into the extra deck so I can negate that thing. Nothing's going to get banished, right? Not today. So then we activate the Angeli, sending her to the graveyard, bringing the Hoopty onto the field. That thing is going to banish the Vernusylph so I could get a Pettingrissaur onto the field, bringing the Pudding Sets again back into the field. We're going to go into the Maldolche Queen Tamararesu, and she's going to activate her effect, sending, well, before we do that, they got the starter, right? They bring the blue. They're going to activate the blue effect, getting a red. We honestly don't care. The game is over. We're going to activate this thing's effect, which is going to let us send 2 of our cards back into the deck so we could flip 2 of their cards back into their deck, right? So now that's going to trigger this thing's effect, this thing's effect. Now the time is about to run out, bro, and again the game is won, because legitimately what I could do is this thing is gonna let me special another level 4 pudding cess or whatever Maldolche card, right? This thing we're gonna go into this thing. This thing is gonna trigger off of sending cards back. It's gonna let me special summon another level 4 Maldolche. We could make another one of these, send these two back into the deck, and we legitimately have more than lethal damage to end the game. They only have 6,900 life points. Again, all of the stuff I just explained to you is triggering, right? This thing is gonna set down a trap. This thing is gonna let me special summon a monster. But before I get to even do any of that, the timer ran out, bro. I was so devastated, bro, because I know it would have been so hyped to show you this with the W, but at least I got to explain to you the W because we won. That game was done. There was nothing else. It was GG's. So with that being said, I still hope you enjoyed it, even though we lost. But with that being said, let's go into the next replay. Alright, so for the next replay, we went up against a Sprite deck as well. There's another one we went up against like a 60 card branded Tearlaments thing. I'm gonna show it to you. They're not that exciting and anything, but again, I'm just trying to show you how you could deal with certain stuff like that. So again, we activate the Vernusylph, send it into the graveyard, we get max seed, but I have the call by the grave in the back pocket, luckily for us, right? We're gonna call by the grave that thing, get it out of here. I'm gonna speed this up a little bit, get that out of here. The thing is negated. We're gonna get a Vernusylph to the hand. We're gonna special summon the Penumbra sword, and this is why these things are really good. This is why I decided to show this replay. This thing is gonna send our shuffler into the graveyard, so that way we could get a normal summon Maldolche card, right, to the hand. And then that's also gonna special summon a level 4. We're gonna use both of these monsters to exceed summon to the Abyss Dweller. These cards make it easy to get into this thing when you have them in the hand, right? Now we're gonna normal summon the Angeli. Angeli is gonna bring the Hooptium to the field. That thing is gonna banish the Vernusylph, bring in a Madolche Mesengelato, which is gonna search as a trap. We're gonna set them the trap, and that's all we broke. Because we decided to go into this into other thing instead of other things. This is also fine because this thing is indestructible, and we can shut down the graveyard, and then that's it. Here they set down a max C, and I'm like, yeah, Sprite. We all know what it is, and even though Sprite doesn't have a lot of effects in the graveyard, they do have a Ronin Totem, so I activated this thing because of that, right? That's what I was thinking at the time anyways. But then they activate the Karikara, which is crazy. Since we activated the thing's effect, they get rid of it, right? With this thing, they're gonna activate the Sprite Jet, and I'm gonna like not allow that by sending this thing back into the deck. Oh wait, back into the hand, sorry. So that way this thing gets negated, get it out of here. Now they're gonna use both of these level 2s, so that way they could synchro summon into the gigantic Sprite, right? Makes sense. They're gonna activate that thing's effect, bring in a Swafrog onto the field, send in the Ronin Totem. They're gonna use both of these monsters to link off into the Sprite Elf, right? Sprite Elf is gonna activate its effect, trying to bring this thing back onto the field. I'm gonna try and shuffle them things back, also shuffling one of my cards back, the Abyss Dweller, because again we could make it again, right? And there it is. This is one of the cards that I showed you guys in that 40 card deck thing that can help you against Tearlaments. Silent Graveyard, any effect in the graveyard gets negated this turn, right? So that thing activates. I can't use my shuffler, so that thing gets negated. Get it out of here. They bring the Swafrog onto the field, activate that thing's effects, and then another Swafrog. And because of the Abyss Dweller, they can't activate the Ronin Totem. They would have actually had way more plays, but they can't do that. So then they use this thing to destroy this thing. And like I said, this thing is indestructible when you make it with this thing, or when you special summon it with this thing, right? So that thing is indestructible. They can't really attack over anything else, so they end their turn, right? So here we get our Salon. We're gonna set that thing down immediately. They're gonna trigger their Elf, activating that thing's effect so they can bring the Sprite Jet back onto the field. I'm like, okay, bet, that's fine. So here I'm thinking that they're gonna get the thing that vanishes, but they get these sprites started, and I'm like, oh, you don't know that you're dead. Okay, copy. Maldolche Hook Cake, we're gonna banish this thing, bring in the Mesengelato. Mesengelato is gonna bring us our field spell, our Chateau. That's gonna trigger our Salon. We're gonna normal summon this thing. We still have another normal summon. Bring this thing onto the field, bring in the Pudding Cess, using both of these monsters right here to go into the Queen Tearlaments. We're gonna activate her effect. Again, we're flipping things back into their hand. It's free real estate. Once we do this thing, all of these monsters get boosted crazy. It was GG's. So with that being said, let's go into the next and last replay. Alright guys, so this was a quick last replay. I just wanted to show you all of them so you can see more of the cards being used and stuff like that. Especially if you want to play this deck, if you have an old Madolche deck and you want to get into it, you could definitely slap these cards in there. It'll make it way better. You have more fun. If I sound a little bit like not so hype or whatever, it's because I'm a little under the weather, bro. I forgot to tell you, but just in case, right? So we got our Vernusylph, the Flourishing Hills. That's gonna get us a Awakening Forest. Then we're gonna special summon this thing. They're gonna activate the Kelbeck in their hand, sending this thing back into our hand. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna use the Awakening Forest, sending the Flourishing Hill that we just special summon to the graveyard, sending a Peregrine Soul to the graveyard as well. That way we could special summon this thing, activating the Angeli, activating her effect, bringing a Peregrine Soul onto the field, activating this thing's effect, getting a Pudding Cess onto the field as well, which is a level 4. These two, we could use them to Exceed Summon into the Teacher Glassful, right? Activating her effect, getting rid of a material, we target herself. We're going to use her to Exceed Summon into the Madolche Pudding Cess Chocolata. Activate her effect, bringing one of these things back into the deck, which is going to trigger her. She's going to get rid of a material, bringing the Hoopty up to the field. We're going to banish the Vernusylph card so we can bring a Messengelado onto the field, searching us our Chateau. We're going to activate the Chateau, which is going to bring our Madolche cards into the graveyard, which is going to trigger this thing. Again, which is going to bring another Messengelado. Messengelado is going to get us a trap, right? So then we're going to use both of these to go back into the Glassful that we just sent back into the extra deck and Exceed Summon into her. Then we're going to use both of these monsters to link off into the Madolche Fresh Start. And then that way we can set down our Call by the Grave and our Madolche Permanade. I goofed. Also, one thing that you should know, this thing should be pointing to this thing. I should have put this thing right here, then linked this thing off right here, but I goofed. That's what you should do, because now all of these things can be Harpy Feather Duster. If this thing was pointing at this, they couldn't be, but it is what it is. So here they're gonna start off by showing us the branded opening. Then they get the Aluber onto the field, sending a Shadow Beast to the graveyard, activating that thing's effect. I'm gonna Call by the Grave that thing because I don't want them using that thing's effect. And also by banishing it, they can't go into a window, or they don't have a material in the graveyard to fusion summon with the window, right? Now they show us the branded fusion. They activate that thing's effect. Luckily for us, we have the Madolche Permanade, so we're gonna negate that thing by sending the Madolche Pudding Cess back into the extra deck, right? Send that back, negate that thing. Then they're gonna show us the Divine Hero of Arc Light. I'm gonna activate this thing's effect, making this thing unaffected by monster effects. I mainly did this so I could get rid of a card, which is gonna trigger that thing's effect as well. So now they got the Kelbeck, they're gonna trigger that. I activate this thing's effect, and I decided to mail dirt cards back into their deck, like the two of them. Mainly for two reasons. One, I'm like, if they mail them back, there's less of a chance of them milling Tearlaments cards, because that's what I was thinking they were playing at the time. And two, I thought that by sending it back, it would have stopped it, but it doesn't, right? Again, all of that stuff gets mailed. They get the Tearlaments cards. They hit two of them things. And luckily for us, this is why we're lucky that we play Shufflers. They also hit one of our own Shufflers, so I shuffle all of them things back. Yeah, you're not fusion summoning into anything, bro. Get that out of here. So we sent all of that stuff up there. All that stuff gets stopped. They set down one trap. They know it was over because that thing wasn't going to be able to stop us. Even if they go with 2 level 4s into Abyss Driller, we don't really care because we don't need to use effects in the graveyard. It was GG's. So with that being said, let me show you the deck list. Alright gang, so here we are in the deck list portion of the video. So like I said, this video was a little bit longer because I wanted to show you all the replays, because I feel like some people might want to play this deck. This deck actually goes up well against Tearlaments, especially if they're shuffling, because if you get some of these cards in these in the graveyard and then you have them in the hand and activate the effect, you're just going to be special summoning these things off of the graveyard, right? Also, if they mill your shufflers, you're just going to shuffle their Tearlaments cards back into the deck. And then on top of that, most of your cards in the graveyard, you could bring them back with your field spell. So if they don't shuffle your field spell in the graveyard, and they could mill your whole deck, activate this thing, your whole deck is just gonna come back. It's crazy. This deck is actually really good. So with that being said, we run 1 Hero of Orange Light, 2 Maxis, 2 Medicine Gelato Hook Cakes, 3 Ash Blossom The Joyous Spring, 2 Ghost by the Bell The Haunted Mansion, 3 Vernusylph The Missing Seedlings, 2 Madolche Medicine Gelatos, 3 Madolches and Jellies, 3 Madolches Perengressors, 3 Vernusylph The Flourishing Hills, 1 Vernusylph The Awakening Forest, 2 Keldo the Sacred Protector, 3 Madaras, 1 Madolche Puddingcess, 1 Pot of Prosperity, 1 Madolche Chateau, 1 Madolche Ticket, 1 Madolche Salon, 2 Cold by the Graves, 1 Crossout Designator, 2 Infinite Impermanence, and 2 Madolche's Pyramid, right? Then for our extra deck, we run 2 Madolche Queen Tamarisu, 1 Abyss Dweller, 1 number 101 Silent Underdark. I actually use this a bunch of times. 2 level 4, suck up a monster on the field, slap him in the face, make a Zeus. This thing is, I love this thing. Number 41 Baguska. For our next card, we have a Madolche Teacher Glass Full. You could definitely run this at 3. I'm fine with it at 2 because I get to recycle it. But also sometimes you don't get to recycle it, you have to banish it, so you might run this at 3. If you have the third one, run it at 3. We have 1 number 60, the Dugares, the Timeless, 2 Madolche Puddingcess Chocolado, 1 Divine Arsenal AA Zeus, 2 Madolche Fresh Starts, 1 Nightmare Unicorn, and 1 Underworld Goddess of the Underworld. So yeah, again, this thing has a lot of synergy. You're gonna send your Madolche cards from the hand to the graveyard with this thing, which is gonna allow you to special summon it, which is gonna allow you to bring another one of these things. And if you have any one of these in the hand, you're gonna activate this thing's effect, send these things to the graveyard, and you can special summon them. You can make it a Abyss Dweller. This deck has a bunch of level 4s, so making a Abyss Dweller might not be that hard for you. It depends. Also, make sure that you don't use this thing's effect first if you're planning on doing other things outside of Madolche cards. Because once you use this thing's effect, it says it right here. If you do reduce the level, also cannot special summon monster for the rest of this turn except Madolches. So you don't want to do that. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the content. If you did, please leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. If you have any comment, questions, and concerns, just let me know in the comment section below, bro. I always reply. So with that being said, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.